Good day, everybody, and welcome to another Korean video. A couple of things quickly. You will see that the credits has changed. So has my Patreon. I'm not going to hammer in on it every episode. It's probably going to be once a week episode type of deal. But the Patreon has changed, and just check the link at the bottom if you want to support me on Patreon. And yeah, so the last episode, the last Korean talk experience and Korea experience video, we went to... as I said in the edited bit, I went to the school on the Friday to, get everything ready for the Monday and make sure what I have to work with and everything. And met up with everybody during lunch and ate everything. And just after lunch, Suyeon comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, Zafanim, the principal wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we sit down in, I think, a makeshift office, and we're drinking coffee, and he's giving me like snacks and stuff, like there's snacks and everything. And he starts talking and she translates, and he's like, he just wants me to know that he's looking forward to seeing my actions at the school, and he just needs to let me know that it is sort of semi-disadvantaged kids, but not really. Like kids coming out of unfortunate, most likely either living with their grandparents or one of their parents for specific reasons. And he's like, you need to just, and he's like, ingratiate yourself into the school and the community. And I'm like, sweet, I'll be there. I didn't say that. I'm like, yes, of course, and all that. And I go to my class, and Suyeon shows me to my class, man. And she shows me, we walk up the stairs on the second floor. And as you just get out of the off of the stairs, and then take a slight. I need to remember now. Take a slight left. Yeah, there's first class on your left-hand side, the first door. That one, big green, and it's like the entire school has got this uniform thing until you get to the English class. Then it's this whole different sort of design and everything from the outside. No windows from the outside looking in. But it's all this, well, they were windows, but they were covered with shades, with curtains and stuff. But, like, you can see, like, you see all the classes, and then all of a sudden, aha, that is the English class. So I get in there, and I'm sitting there, and she's like, okay, so this is your class, whatever you want to do. And I'm like, sweet, I'll be doing it. And I start looking around, and I start, like, opening cupboards and everything. There's this giant whiteboard that, if I remember correctly, there was a whiteboard over that you can shift over the big-ass television screen. And the big-ass television screen is connected to the computer, like totally advanced technology for someone coming from South Africa. But it was these two giant whiteboards next to the television screen. The television was always open. We never closed it. And these two, and I've got a story about that closing thing. So two whiteboards, giant television screen. The class in front of me is about 10 square, maybe 15 square feet, 15 square meters. No, it was about 10 square meters. And then there's another section of the class, which is, it's just this tiny wall subdividing it. Then there's an entire other section of the class way behind, way at the back, which is also about another 10 square feet. Maybe 15 square, not feet, meters, 10 square meters, maybe 15 square meters. I had a big class, and I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'm going, how many kids am I going to teach in one lesson? Is it only school kids? Is it only, stuff like that? I start like, ugh, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? Let's just do this. And I start opening up cupboards and everything because I need to familiarize myself with what I have to work with. So we've got soft dices, tiny colorful balls. We've got a crap ton of coloring utensils like pencils, and we call them Koki pens. I believe you call them felt tip coloring pens in America, I believe. We call them Koki pens in South Africa. Lots of sticky notes, like packs and packs of sticky notes, and a giant card. One of the windows had like the world map but all in English and like in English, but their Korean equivalent with big or important cities of the world map, right? And like usually what they do with the cities on this world map. Now I'm pointing as if I'm looking at the map right now. Let me just tell you. And each area has its like has a little identifier like what it's famous for. Like Australia would have like in Sydney it would show like a little opera house, the Sydney Opera House thing, the thing, you know what I mean? And in South Africa, a place called Pretoria had diamonds. I'm like, okay, diamonds apparently. That's something I learned. And it was these giant vinyl curtains that you can roll up and down. And we also had, and the other curtains was also vinyl. All the curtains in this place was vinyl to close everything off. And it's wooden flooring and everything. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, cool. Let me just check something. And I look and I find a little tiny broom. Korea's got these tiny brooms that's like sort of skewed to the edge. It's very difficult to explain. A normal broom, you see like the stick and it's the broom. They have these brooms that it's the stick and the hair goes like, it's the stick, but the hair goes skew. You know, the hair of the broom goes that way. They have those things, probably to reach corners easier and everything. So I'm taking this thing and I'm busy sweeping and everything. And I'm just walking around and looking at the class. And there was even a green screen area in the class that we never used because I didn't know how to do green screen stuff. But there was actually a green screen. The one corner of the classroom was literally painted green. And I was like, okay, cool, that's just a weird color scheme. Fast forward 4 years later, when I'm in South Africa, I'm like, now I know why that section of the room was painted green, you know, because of this. And now, anyway, so I'm starting to clean. I start, first off, I shift all the desks to the one side, and I start cleaning the one side, and I clean, and I throw away the dust, and, you know, throw the dust away and everything. And I start moving the desks to the one side, and halfway through moving, I hear a very shy voice. And it's like, teacher. And I look up and there's this kid. Man, tiny kid. Tiny. I would later find out that she was in grade, 5, 6? Wait, hold on. Yeah, she was like the last grade in elementary school. Now, what was that oh, crap, what was that called? Was it grade 6? It was grade 6. I think she was grade 6. She was in the highest grade there. And I'm like, oh, hi. And like right out behind her, because like, you know that second section of the classroom where I said that what had that half a wall? Now that half a wall was the green screen wall, and then it's the rest of the classroom. So I'm busy cleaning, and this kid walks up behind the teacher. And I look at her and I'm like, oh, hi. How are you? And I don't, it's the first time I'm interacting with kids outside of like a controlled environment in the sense of what we experienced in the orientation. So this is like my first interaction with them and everything. And she's like, teacher, we help? We help? And I'm like, okay. And behind that wall, this big guy, man, he could have been a rugby player. This big Korean guy, almost twice her size, walks out behind her, and I'm like, holy crap. He's just slightly taller than I am. Now, I'm not a big guy, but he's slightly taller than I am. I'm not a tall guy. And he's like, your teacher, we help. And I'm like, okay. And he takes the broom out of my hand, and he starts sweeping. And she's like trying to like adjust books and everything. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I want to teach these kids their name, English. I want to start. I'm not officially working. And I'm like, hey, what's your name? And she's like, oh, teacher Eugene. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, and your name? And he was, he had a younger brother. Like, it was literally, I got there. I wish I spent more time with the older students, but I got there and I didn't have time to learn their names. Like, at the end of the year, I remembered most of them. But up until like 4 or 5 months in, I started remembering the names. Was he? I don't want to say it was Song Jae. It was. It's not Min Jae. It's In Jong. I think it. But anyway, this big guy. But he left an impression. Like, literally, if I see his face, I'll tell you his name. One of those like, oh, I know you. I know you. You. Anyway, we did because that's future stories. Future stories. There's reasons why stuff happen. Like, there's underlying reasons why I sometimes don't remember the names, and we'll get to those stories. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll just because the previous one was 20 minutes long. So anyway, so I start cleaning up the school or the classroom, and they are like, and the bell goes off, and Eugen looks at me, and she's like, "Teacher, I class. I'm like, no, it's okay." Oh, she said me class or something, and I'm like, "Quenchana," and she pauses and she looks at me, and I just hear her say something along the lines of Hangugun, Hanguguro, to the guy, and the guy starts laughing. And she's like, so I'm thinking she probably told him, holy crap, I can speak Korean and I understand Korean. Like, the 3 words I learned in Korea, I got the opportunity to, or the 3 words that I've known for a long time, some of the words that I've known for a long time, I got into use there just to see if I'm using it correctly. And that was the first time I used a Korean word, and I was kind of impressed. And then, like, as the bell rang, now I'm standing there and I've just, like, most of the class is cleaned and I'm shifting my desk, putting stuff on my desk and everything ready for Monday. And kids are walking past, and it's the grade 6s and then the grade 5s, which was literally 2 kids. Literally 2 kids. And as they were busy, I'm like, okay, cool. I've taken a photo of the bus schedule, so I know roughly when the bus when the bus is gonna go back. So I had spent about 2 hours at school that day, cleaning and everything. And I go to Suyeon, and I go to the principal, and I say goodbye to them and everything. And some of the teachers, like, look at me. They try to talk to me, but they were so afraid. Now, remember, I didn't look like this. I basically imagine this. Okay, slightly less beard, but this is what I look like. And they were so afraid to speak to me, especially like in the first week. But I'm like, just goodbye. And they're like, oh, yes, goodbye. And I bow and everything. Man, the bowing. I miss the bowing. Of all the things in Korea I probably miss the bowing the most. I loved bowing to people and people bowing to me. It's so freaking awesome. It was so respectful, you know. It's respectful. I love it. And I get back on the bus. And now remember, I already survived one bus trip. So I get back on the bus and I drive back. I have no idea when we'll get there. But I know the bus will stop and they'll tell me to get off because we will get to Gochang. That is the final destination of that bus for the day. Get on the bus, go back, look over the countryside, and it looks so different driving. Something as simple as driving back and seeing the other direction, you know. It's like, whoa, that is so freaking cool. And I remember, like, oh, there's the church, so next time I'll just get on the bus and look out for the church sign. And I get back that Friday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And thus, my first weekend, which I've explained to you mostly in the previous one, started, which essentially consisted of me going to the 7-Eleven, buying some noodles and water, maybe a Coke or two, but not too much, and surviving that weekend basically on noodles and water. And obviously the snacks like that I bought at the PC Bungs. I didn't go out that weekend. I just spent most of that weekend in the PC Bung. And the thing is, you don't realize time is going past in the PC Bung unless you, in the, especially in the bus terminals PC Bung, unless you purposefully go out and look outside. And, for that entire weekend, I spent most of my time in the PC Bung. And that weekend, I also met. Oh, crap. What was his name? I also met another Korean that owns the chicken shop right below the PC Bung. They make coal pop, which is basically chicken nuggets in a bucket or in a tiny container, and that container on a giant ass cola container, like a cola glass, like a paper cup. So you eat your chicken and drink your cola out of the same thing. And he was speaking perfectly English, and turns out he spent like 4 years in California. And that's how I made it. So every time that I went to the PC Bung, like, I bought a couple of things, and then I think I should leave that story for the next one, that specific Sunday, before my first day at school. That's what we're going to leave off with, the first Sunday alone in Korea. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until the next episode, you should have a good one.